Welcome to the Functional Health Coaching Show, where we are here to support and answer your questions so that you can help people on a deeper level get real results and grow your health coaching business. Do you have questions you want to ask live on the show? You can call in every Friday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 1-347-637-1378. Are you looking to increase your credibility and grow your health coaching business using functional lab testing and data-driven protocols so that you can confidently solve health issues? Well, we have the course for you. Go to fdn.today/show to learn more and sign up today. Okay, let's join today's episode.
Well, once again, we say happy Friday, you guys. Thanks for tuning in to the Functional Health Coaching Show, part of FDN, Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. I'm your host this week, Brandon Mollet, and it's May 22nd, 2020, just so you have this on the recording. These recordings of this show go back about 10 years, or a little longer than that now. So come to you guys every week. We have for many years now, I think 12 years, I think is by my count, to help support you guys, whatever level and area you're at, or stage in the process of becoming an FDN practitioner. If you're already graduate out there helping people and you need some support, we're here to help you with your cases, ask questions on any topic. Happy to do that today. If you're a trainee and you're moving through the course right now and on the way and need some help with something, some aspect of it, please call in and ask us questions as well. Or, hey, if you're just looking at taking this course, becoming a practitioner, we've had really a great surge in new folks coming on, being part of this course here, making some career changes, modifying what they're already doing, adding to their repertoire, what they're able to offer people. Different walks, different backgrounds, all sorts of variation. It's pretty amazing who comes to this course, and the amazing practitioners they end up becoming. You don't have to be born into this. You don't have to be a physician, medical doctor, or someone that's been in medicine your whole life to become actually a really excellent practitioner. I've known many people with varying backgrounds, including myself, that became amazing practitioners, helped a lot of folks. So if you're joining us for the call there, you're checking it out, thanks for being on. If you guys want to call in and ask a question or make a comment, I'm happy to help out with that. I think I'll have a co-host with me on pretty soon. If not, you'll just have me today. Number to call in is 347-637-1378. Again, 347-637-1378. You'll dial in, hit 1 on the keypad. I'll know that you're there. I'll call out your area code, very likely. I'll get your name, and then you can ask a question. A little quiet, looks like, so on the switchboard today. Maybe it's the long weekend. Maybe some people are able to get out and do some things. Memorial Day weekend, so honoring those who have served and fallen. So we thank people for that. We don't want to forget about the Memorial Day and the other end, the Veterans Day. So, but because of the holiday there, a lot of times lab shipping schedules vary a little bit because FedEx, UPS, or different carriers aren't running. So just be sure to make sure you check schedules there for the different labs. If you have some labs out there for your clients or for yourself, make sure that you just double check to make sure that everything's great if you're going to ship it on Monday. Some allow you to, some don't because of the holiday, so you want to watch out for that. I always want to make it as simple and easy and watch out there for your clients, making sure they have a good experience with their testing and it's not frustrating. We need that data and information, and we want it to be accurate and be helpful. So, again, May 22nd, 2020. Hope you guys are doing good out there. Got a few graduates that I want to announce today, actually several, which is awesome. And we'll cover some questions here as well. I guess a couple things I will mention just so you guys know, though, don't forget trainees, the trainee study hour. It comes on 10 o'clock Pacific time there, so a little bit before the Friday call comes on. Jump on a Zoom call with Reed and Don and get your questions asked. So something new we started, just another level of one-on-one support there as you're moving through the course. Take advantage of that. You can hop on there and ask the man himself a question, which I still have the privilege of doing because, I learn something from him every time I talk or get just some clarification on things. And then Don's done a great job as course supervisor helping out there. So make sure you're aware of that. Take advantage of that. And Also, the FDN conference. So I want to make sure we announce that each week. Also, we had one last year and the year before that. So this is our third conference. And it's going to be in San Diego again, October 23rd to the 25th. Plans are still on for that. You can get tickets, accommodations there. It's going to be great. If you are in any level, if you are, again, looking at taking the course, it's open to the general public, as far as I know. I know we had about 20, 25 people there just looking to get a feel for what we do that came on with a kind of the bring a friend scenario there. And then if you're a trainee, a great way to get really immersed and see what's going on, see what's coming for you, and then, of course, practitioners as well. So you're going to learn, you're going to grow from it, leaps and bounds over a very, very short amount of time. That's what I feel like comes from weekends like that, where you're all together and you're just focused in on all the same thing, all the energy is going in one direction, and it takes you to that next level wherever you happen to be, whatever you are in this whole process, wherever you're at. So make plans for that, FDNconference.com. We've got things in the newsletter about that on FDN Connect. Check it out. Love to have you come with us there and enjoy some really nice weather and amazing folks coming together, and get to see some of you guys there, hopefully in person, face to face. All right, that's big things. I think I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of. Just always make sure you check your email there. We've always got updates and things going on. Let you guys know what we're up to. Okay. All right. So so let me read off a few graduate names. Fun part of the week here. We get to congratulate you on air. Had several recently say, I've been listening really regular. I'm excited to have my name read off, and they've listened back years into it. So this call is like a whole separate course in a way. A lot of things you can learn about. We have a lot of special guests, either advisory board members that have been on in years past, or just special guests talking about a topic. We used to do a practitioner spotlight. We may bring that back. So I have you guys as practitioners come on and do a little long format interview, I guess you would call it, and hear your story in lots of detail. And if anything you want to share with other practitioners on what you've done to be successful, mistakes you made, things that you learned along the way that you can share with us. So in light of that, we want to say congratulations to these 6 graduates this week. This is tremendous. Love to see numbers like this and you guys to be able to represent well FDN. It's quite an accomplishment to get through the FDN course. We do not give these certifications away. You're going to earn every bit of it, but it's fun. It's some work, but it's fun also, and you're going to be well prepared as a practitioner once you complete the course. We will guarantee that. You got to, as Reed said, you got to get through me on the verbal final. He does a postgraduate interview. You got to get through several hundreds of hours, I don't know, of Reed on video, and us jumping in there, and of course your sessions with your mentors, the practical sessions. So everything you're hearing about, you're writing down, you're learning, well, we're going to have you to do that because it's always in the doing, right? That's one of the best ways to learn is to do that. So you complete practicals, you be the practitioner, and there's some growth that's going to happen with calls like that, and it's a good thing. So it's scary, you jump in, you do it. And these 6 people definitely did a super good job. So we want to say congratulations to, first of all, Allison Jordan from Michigan, and then Ebony Jenkins from Texas, Rick Rosno from Iowa, Kristen Harris in California, Denise Hagan in Oklahoma, and finally Rachel Clark in California. Guys, great job. Congratulations. Proud of you guys. Good stuff. So every one of those people has their story, usually their own health journey they've gone through, and then what they plan to do with their career. If it's full-time, part-time, adding to what they're already doing. I love to get a feel for you guys coming through and what you're doing. Want to know how we can help you best and help you succeed in this. All right, so I think it's going solo here today, guys. So if you want to call in there and ask a question or make a comment, happy to give you some feedback. The number, again, is 347-637-1378. You can hit 1 on your keypad, and we'll jump into questions in this next phase of things, I will wet my whistle, and I'll go for the first question here. So, number one looks like a trainee question. So it says, I'm excited to be at the start of Module 5 and able to submit my labs. I need to wean off caffeine in order to prep for the 205. I had a feeling this would be part of it. Unsmiley face there, so frowny face. Anyone else struggle with this? Okay, all right. So, yes, you can there. So, really the big deal with that, we talked about this a little bit on training on a Facebook Live there, Training Study Hour, Dawn, preparation for samples, taking samples. What do you do? So there are definitely guidelines with every lab, what you want to do to get the most beneficial data. I won't say accurate data because the lab's equipment is going to test what it tests. So if you do something that increases your cortisol and your cortisol is higher than it actually normally is on a test, for example, the machine is reading cortisol high. So it's not an accuracy thing. I think it's the most useful. So if you are taking, DHEA sublingual and you take your saliva sample after you just took your DHEA sublingual, well, then you're going to have crazy amounts of DHEA showing up in your saliva. So silly things like that. So we want to make sure that we're very clear with our clients, giving them the outlines and guidelines to do the best we can to get useful information from that test. Now, we can always interpret that test in light of everything that we have because we can't control all variables, right? So people could be on prescription medication. They could be coming off of birth control. They could be, just stressful things that they always can't control necessarily. So we always have to interpret it in light of what we know about that person, and some of that comes out during your sessions. So you're going to ask questions about this. So if you see some marker that is really out of range, kind of odd, you want to ask about that. So, hey, are you taking something, or what do you think happened here? And try to get a feel for if you can explain what is going on. That way, that data point is not useless to you, but not very helpful in forming your impression there and developing a really good protocol. So, overall, read those instructions, be very familiar with those. Ideally, you take the sample yourself many times before. You've done some labs on yourself. You want to be really familiar with those, and then you can go over those instructions with your client however you'd like to. If you want to do a little video, I've done some videos that are helpful for sampling, so they can go back and listen to it again, rewind, hear me instead of just a quick conversation. So that's the overarching aspect of this, and the reason I bring this up when it comes to this is the main thing I would say here. So coffee, the issue with caffeine or coffee or tea, whatever you're doing to get caffeine, there is that it can, and maybe that's one reason why we get so addicted to it. It can raise cortisol, so it can kick up some of that stress response, and cortisol goes up. And generally, the more cortisol, the merrier. In a lot of situations, right? A lot of us have a low output of cortisol, or just the cortisol is not being utilized very well by the body. So a little extra cortisol can make us feel kind of good. So with the caffeine side of things, you definitely don't want to be taking caffeine in the day that you're doing your sampling. How many days before to stop that? I think a couple days is probably enough. Because typically that caffeine is going to be, for most people, it's going to be in the system. It's going to have a relatively immediate response. Maybe within a few minutes you're going to feel that rise. You're going to feel that caffeine high there. And then the body's going to metabolize that caffeine, if the liver's working well, relatively quickly, and it's out of the system. That's why we might have a couple cups of coffee a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, because that stimulation that comes from that, it's going to wear off eventually. That's why we sort of build this tolerance to it. We have to keep going. It's the whole chemical roller coaster that we can definitely find ourselves in, and that's not the ideal scenario. So yes, so I think a couple of days is probably enough, and I would think most people could kind of tough it out. That's what I think. Depending on the level of the caffeine addiction, caffeine withdrawal, you can feel pretty crummy. So I would say it's something that I would experiment with it before you're taking the lab to see how pronounced it's going to be. So if you come off caffeine and you have a massive headache and you are super lethargic and extremely irritable, well, it's great that you're off caffeine, but now you've added some other stress factors, all those things I just mentioned. So could that affect the hormones, especially cortisol? I think it could. So I'd almost say let's try it and see what you feel. If it's not as bad as you thought it was, then yeah, come off there a couple days and you're good. If it's more pronounced, you may need to wean yourself off of it over a few weeks, which maybe it has a side benefit. I have many clients that once they came off of caffeine or weaned off of that for a reason, they're like, actually, I think I feel better without it, or I don't think I really was benefiting from it. I don't know that I was actually feeling anything, or boy, I'm a lot less irritable. I'm not crashing. My energy is not. Thinking about caffeine, many times you go zip up real quick, and then once that caffeine wears off, and since caffeine can be an appetite suppressant, you are hungry and don't know it. Your blood sugar drops, caffeine drops, the rug is pulled out from underneath you, and you're cranky, irritable, and not very fun to be around. So some people have found that, like, wow, I have much more steady energy, or maybe my focus has improved. I don't have as much ADD, ADHD. I don't have the anxiety I had. So just even the sampling process, you can actually start to move forward with them in their dress protocol through that process. So there's a side benefit to doing that. You may find you don't actually want caffeine, or something has motivated you enough wanting to feel better to take that sample that you said, it's worth toughing it out right now because I want to feel better and get off the caffeine side. So tips on coming off of caffeine. So definitely what you could do is you could start to just reduce the amount that you're consuming, very simply, maybe by 20% a day if you wanted to, or if you want to go quicker than that. So if you drink 2 cups of coffee, then drink 2/3 cups of coffee, or whatever you want to do, whatever breakdown you want to. So just start to reduce the overall amount. You could do that. You also could look at what you're consuming, where your caffeine is coming from, and say, okay, if coffee has, 90 milligrams of caffeine in there, we'll say, green tea might have 50 or 40, or yerba mate is another one I like quite a bit. Very tasty tea there. It's debatable. Is it actually caffeine, or is it some sort of form of caffeine that has a stimulating effect? You could make a switch over to something that's a little less hard, a little weaker stimulant there. Switch over to something like that, and then ease your way off of that as well. I think lots of water consumption is very good. Some rest is good. I've had several clients that really found out that all their energy and all of what they thought it was energy was coming from caffeine. And so they've been kind of lying to themselves for a long time, thinking they had energy, but once they have the caffeine out, no more stimulants, they almost don't know what to do. I've had people report, I'm very tired. I just feel very, very fatigued. And they even said, well, maybe it's because I'm not hyped up as much anymore. Maybe this is what it feels like to feel normal, not be in this rat race roller coaster of stress and caffeine and keeping yourself hyped up. Maybe this is how I'm supposed to feel. Or fundamentally, one of the goals of FDN is to reduce stressors, right, to remove stressors. So if caffeine is a type of stressor, it's what some plants use to protect themselves. It's a botanical defense mechanism. So if that stress comes off of your system, you might feel less revved up because you really are less revved up, and you've put yourself and your body into a place where it can heal, because we know we can't heal in a stress state. If we're sympathetic dominant, fight or flight, go all the time, there's no relaxation. There's no parasympathetic dominance time. There's not this ebb and flow of some times when you're up and times that you're down. You're not going to heal. So just reducing that as a stressor, person might feel more fatigued, but actually they put themselves in a position where they can finally do the real deep down work they need to do. Their body's put into a good position. So I think there's more to it than just, hey, taking this lab. There's other things beyond that really might improve, or things you're going to at least learn about yourself in that process. So reducing the amount of whatever you're normally consuming, switching over to something that's lower caffeine is something you could do also. And I'd say most people weaning off of it slowly can come off of those and not feel too bad, not have too much withdrawal. Most of the time, the withdrawal symptoms are going to be going cold turkey, so you can wean off of that. And it may not be so bad. You may not be so addicted to it. Personally, I've had kind of love-hate relationship with caffeine and coffee and those type of things. So there's times where I can tolerate it very well, and I feel pretty good with that. Other times it's not good at all for my system. So there's times where I can enjoy a cup of coffee, and I like the taste of it, very enjoyable, and it doesn't seem to have much harmful effect. I feel good, no big deal. There are other times, depending on the different circumstances coming together in life, where it's an absolute no, and I feel way worse and terrible with caffeine or some kind of stimulants in the system. So we learn about our bodies and how we respond to different things and how we're processing different things through the process here. Okay, well, hopefully that's been helpful. Hope you guys don't get tired of my voice here. I kind of am already, just going on. But you guys are welcome to jump in and say, hey, again, 347-637-1378. Hit one on the keypad there. Here's a lot of you guys. Hey, all right. Got a lot of you guys live here. Awesome. So thanks for tuning in again. About 39 minutes or so left in the show today, and we'll just keep hitting questions here as we go. I had one that came in I wanted to make sure I grabbed here. Okay. Well, I've got a hand raised, so we'll grab the raised hand first. That's always preferred. All right. Hey, 631 area code. What's your name?
Hi, Brandon. It's Andrea Velarde. How are you?
Oh, hello, Andrea.
I'm good. Thank you for doing this. I'm getting ready for the final with April. I have a question regarding Giardia, right? So she's got Giardia, and there's a bunch of treatments we can do, which is great. And you're recommending, a flush for the liver and the gallbladder. So how can we distinguish after when we do a retest? Like if this was a real client of ours, other than, I guess, correlation, because when we retest, we really don't know if that Giardia has gotten up to the gallbladder. We're sending out maybe, what is recommended? Send out something to a doctor, maybe get tested, or what's the deal with that? Giardia can be so tricky,
Yeah, it can be. You're right. So, and it's relatively common. One of the most common parasites, I would say, coming up on these tests here. So, I see I know you're on my calendar to finish up here, so excited to do that with you. So, without giving too much away about the verbal final, we'll just talk about, parasite and Giardia kind of in general here. So I think you usually have most of the time some symptoms that come around that. So I think one of the gauges we do use for progress would be symptoms improving. Of course, it's not the only gauge we use, but it is one of those symptoms. So that would be part of what I would look at. So the typical GI type of symptoms you might feel around that organism, or even the peripheral things, beyond just the maybe bloating or diarrhea. Usually loose stools diarrhea is a big one there for a few days or weeks after infection. But also things just like brain fog or energy or improved satiation, nutrition, because that's Giardia there, definitely can damage that mucosal lining. So a lot of parasites will do that. They're kind of like a lawnmower there. Mm-hmm.
Is it also associated with constipation, Giardia?
It can be. Yes, some of these organisms, it might start out as some acute loose stools diarrhea, and then once it gets chronic, the person can go the other direction and have some constipation too. Yes, that's possible. Mm-hmm. Yep. So symptoms is part of that, and then I think doing the best we can to do as much as we can on a retest. And so I think one of the good things that we have here with the GI map versus looking at Giardia through an antigen microscope is that with GI map, with the way it tests, you don't have to have nearly as much Giardia present to be able to find it. So I would say that if I saw a retest look clear or better on this particular organism. Symptoms are improving. Overall, this case is moving in a really good direction. I'm going to say we've probably done our job with that. So it's a few factors that come together to decide, did we actually complete the job? Now, I would say if something looks they're not feeling as good, if the lab results look worse, new things come up, then you might be doing a second pathogen protocol or parasite protocol specifically. Something new could be there. That's possible. So I think a couple things you put together. Liver gallbladder flush is quite good. Seems like a lot of people have been bringing that up lately here more so. I don't know, just in all areas of life there. We did a lot of those early on. Haven't done one in a few years, but they can be very, very helpful there also if they're well tolerated. So, I think you have, just like about anything else, evaluating progress and where to go, it's usually multifactorial for us as far as practitioners go. So Is that helpful?
Right. It was very helpful. I have another quick question because I was looking over at the Dutch. I have a friend of mine who's thinking of joining me to get some help. And I noticed that the Dutch doesn't have the melatonin in it. Are we able to add it to that, or do we have to run it separate? Or
Gotcha. The Dutch, there's a couple different versions of the Dutch test. Maybe one of those doesn't have it. So if you do I think I'm going to get this wrong here. I think maybe it's the Dutch Complete. That one there that has the little mini oat panel. It should have melatonin on there also, along with your cortisols and all your sex hormones and the metabolites. I believe it's the Dutch Complete. I'm going to say maybe I don't think it's the Dutch Plus. I'm just going to look it up here real quick. It's the the website here, guys, real quick. So, it's going to be the Dutch Complete. That one there, it will have melatonin. Yep. So I think one maybe does not have. So that's the one I would do for starting out for everybody. That's where I would go. That way you get all the things you want to look at. And then if you want to get a little more specific, maybe just the sex hormones you need to test. They do have some ways that they break the test up a little bit. So I think you're going to have that marker there. It's going to be more the morning. I think it comes from the morning sample. So you look at kind of overnight melatonin.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. I look forward to Thursday with you.
Sounds good. Let's do it. We'll finish it up. Thanks for calling in.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, we'll get Andrea through. All right. Another caller here. Let me grab it here. So 810 area code 810. What's your name? 810.
Hello, Brandon. This is Rainey from Michigan again. How are you today?
Doing good. I thought it might have been you. That number is popping up here on the often. So doing good.
Yes. It is just a wonderful show as always. You're doing a great job, and I'm enjoying it as every time we listen to the show. I just had several questions, and some of the things are following up with what Andrea was just asking. Yes, I did recently ran the Dutch test, and I really like it. And you're right, the melatonin is added on the Dutch Complete. So that's really a great test, and I was impressed how easier it is to, collect the urine sample from the patients, and so that will be, it's very helpful. But I wanted to ask you a quick question. I do have the daughter of a friend of mine actually just had surgery yesterday, and she had a lot of problems with hemorrhoids and really constipation. So from your practical experience, which one of what really works well, that it's very gentle, that it's more natural for the patients, specifically for, like more severe constipation, or even if people are doing cleanse or they're trying to lose weight, a lot of times this happens. So I just wondered, what do you recommend to your clients that really works? And, as we are trying to educate people and about the health and wellness, and I'm trying to relay the message that, for example, anything from over-the-counter like Metamucil with aspartame, it's not the best choice. So I just wanted to meet the clients where they are and to educate them and just give them a better alternative. So what would you say it's something that really works with your clients as far as more severe cases of constipation?
Gotcha. Good question. So taking the surgery aspect out of it, just generally, I would say this. So the first level, I would say, when it comes to addressing constipation, the gentlest, I would say, is looking at probably 4 areas. I would say, hydration, number 1. Number 2, the diet. And then supplementation-wise, it's more gentle to me, is usually probiotics or digestive enzymes, maybe all those. And so, fundamentally, enough water, right? So keeping things hydrated properly. Looking at the diet, I'd say maybe on that side of things, pulling out something like gluten and dairy and making sure they have enough, not really high fiber foods necessarily. We know fiber is not the only thing that helps the bowel movement, but making sure they do have, I'd say, enough vegetable matter would be good, or maybe even some safe grains, things like that can really help on that side. And then usually something like a good probiotic, digestive enzymes, that's like a first level. Those are things that probably everybody should be doing, right, on a regular basis. I would say that'd be the first gentlest level, I would say. Beyond that, I think you get into the realm of like high-dose vitamin C, magnesium, and herbs. Those are the ones that are going to be a little bit more aggressive, but potentially, but they're going to be the next level if those other things aren't working. Magnesium, usually probably magnesium citrate is probably one of the better ones, I would say, as far as helping with constipation. Some of your other magnesiums like glycinate, threonate, malate, those do have some, make their way somewhat to the bowels. Usually those are more for trying to get up intracellular magnesium where you want it to be absorbed and utilized by the rest of the body. Magnesium has about 1,000 different processes it's involved with in the body. So I think probably citrate's probably one of the better ones, I would say. Even like an effervescent one like Natural Calm can be good. So doing some magnesium. Epsom salt is that's sulfate that's a little rougher on the system, and it tastes absolutely terrible if you're taking Epsom salt down. So I think maybe citrate is a good way to go. I'm not a huge fan, haven't done it very much, the high-dose vitamin C to get things moving. I know some people are. Usually what I resort to more than likely is going to be an herbal-type laxative. If you even want to use the word laxative, I think it's kind of harsh with that because most herbal combinations they're not going to cause a really violent, uncontrollable movement, or you just have to find the restroom. And usually they're not habit-forming. So it's one of the benefits of herbs in, I think, most cases. Maybe an herbologist on the phone can correct me on this, but generally I've seen that they're meant for more toning the muscles of the bowel. They have a nice laxative effect. They get things moving, but they're actually supportive to the system, so it makes the system stronger, so you're not increasing dependency. So, things like LBF number 1 from Ultralife, Bowel Mover from Cellcore Biosciences. Been using a lot of Vitanica has a product called colon motility. Several of them out there. Usually what I'll do is I'll look at the list of ingredients and get a feel for what is in there. A lot of times they'll have things like magnesium in some of those formulas, maybe some enzymes also. Then they'll have different herbs. And I think if you stay away from ones that are too heavy on the Senna, SENNA, or Cascara Sagrada side, those can be a little bit stronger if you don't want as much of a strong response. Other ones like I think turkey rhubarb, barberry, some of these are a little bit more gentle. That's why I like things like LBF number 1. I think it's a little more gentle formula. And usually you can just titrate up and find the doses that they need herbal-wise that will. The good thing about herbs is that it tends to, unlike maybe lots of magnesium or vitamin C, it will usually elicit a bowel movement that is just, it continues to soften the stool to where it comes out more easily. Well-formed, just on the softer side where, a lot of magnesium, if you do too much, you can have some diarrhea, a lot of loose liquid with it, which isn't always the best. So my go-to usually is on the herbal side. And then I guess on the last case scenario there would be, and it's not a bad thing at all, but colon hydrotherapy. a definite fan of colon hydrotherapy in its various forms. I think that in some cases is necessary for some folks that are just extremely impacted, lots of issues coming from that. Running through and doing a couple colonics a week for a little while can really move a lot of waste and really help get the case moving along. Sometimes you need some of the big guns that come in there. And then once that's cleared out, then you can go and support in a more, gentle way, not as aggressive. So that's usually my step down into the constipation side of things. So is that helpful? Anything you have on
This
that?
was extremely helpful, Brandon. And so it comes down basically for allopathic care, maybe the LBF number 1. I never ordered it or used it, but between this one and Cell Core, those would be pretty good one then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I like both those. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I wondered if you have heard. I mean, have you ever used the Triphala? I heard something about that Triphala drop. Did they work good? Are they okay? So in this situation, actually,
it's in some of those formulas too. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's great then. So this is, I'm just sharing with all of my friends over there, all the FDNs, but this is kind of sad though. It proves that how much we are needed to help people because I did not work with her daughter, so I didn't know what was going on. She's in a different city anyhow, but throughout this time, she's been on a keto diet on her own. She's been doing this, and I did tell her mom that when people go on keto diet, they really need to make sure it's the right thing for them. So I think that this probably worsened her health because since she's been on a keto diet for almost now 9 months or something, she was having progressively even getting more constipated, eating a lot of cheese, and everything else, and, not fruit at all. And so it was very sad because I found out yesterday that the doctors were giving heavier and heavier duty prescriptions, for the constipation relief, and nothing was working. And she's a very young lady, only 40-something, and she ended up having a surgery not only for the hemorrhoids, but a fissure. And this is just so sad, and it almost broke my heart to hear that because, it's like, what do you do? And none of these heavy-duty medications were working. So anyhow, and some of them gave her diarrhea. But moving forward, though, if I'm asked to give I'm not going to give advice. This is between her and her doctor. But if I am asked to at least suggest anything natural down the road when she recovers after the surgery, because this is going to be super painful experience. I can only imagine how she would feel for the next couple of weeks. And the doctors warned her about that. She's going to be in a lot of pain. But so of this, any of these might work then, right? Maybe the LBF, you think number 1 will be the most gentlest one, or the Cell Core? That's what I was getting.
I'd say maybe, not knowing everything going on here, but maybe the colon motility blend by Vitanica. Okay. That might be probably the most gentlest. So, but yeah, I think watch doctor's orders that they might have some dietary recommendations, some things maybe a liquid diet for a while if she's healing. You don't want to aggravate things too much, but if she's healed up, then it comes back, I think, very much into the realm of what FDNs do best, and working through our gut protocols. So maybe this will be motivating to her, where she's willing to do some sort of testing.
Yes, absolutely, and hopefully she will be another one of the future clients. But yes, well, I cannot thank you enough. This was something that I was even planning to post on the AFDNP Facebook, but I'm so glad that we had this chance now, so I can ask you, and this was extremely helpful. And earlier when you were speaking about the coffee, that reminded me of reading from some of these books about how the epigenetics also affect the way people metabolize coffee. I'm sure that people heard about this, about the gene that is called CYP-A1-2, and it's depending on the forms, the two types, either if the people have the 1A or the 1F, it depending on that, how they're able to metabolize and how would coffee affect them. So that was a very great explanation earlier, Brandon, and I thank you for that.
Awesome. Thanks for that addition there, too. I think I've heard something about that, so that's somewhat new to me. So, yeah, something else to explore. Great.
Yeah, about the epigenetics, and that was very interesting too. Well, thank you so much, Brandon. Pleasure as always, and
You're
keep
welcome,
up the good work. Thank you so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a very
Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Awesome. Cool. Love you guys calling in. It's good stuff. Reminds me there of a story I heard Paul Chek say before. I think I've got the details right there, but there was a world champion snowboarder, I believe, that was having major back problems, and they were coming down to back surgery for this young man, probably early 20s, right? So back surgery, and somehow they ended up consulting Paul. And one of his first questions he asked about is, well, how often do you go poop? How are your bowels moving? And found this young man was extremely constipated, which was causing what he could tell like back pain, right? So this kid was about to go under the knife as an athlete for back pain that may have been the constipation. So ended up going through work with Paul there and relieving the constipation, and the back pain went totally away. So yes, sometimes we're all of a sudden ready to overhaul the engine when you just need to air up the tires, right? So something kind of simple here. So just like Rainey's saying there, the detail that we go into and the time and the effort, the questions that we ask, we don't leave any stone unturned. You never know what might come up later or could be a factor into it. So that's where I think I mentioned this before. It's good to be knowledgeable about a lot of different possibilities. You may not have to be an expert in mold, maybe like I think Andrea is in mold, or in mycotoxins or Lyme or things like that, breast implant illness, different things like that, dental things. You don't have to be an expert, but you need to be well enough versed in it to say, this could be a factor in this person's health. If they have multiple dental issues, that may be something that needs to really be addressed, professionally. Maybe you can come alongside and help some, a little Biocide toothpaste or something. That might need to be addressed professionally, and that's a big part of that. Or like breast implant illness. I've had several clients lately with breast implant illness, and having explant surgery has been, it saved their life. It was the complete turnaround that they needed, one of those huge, huge blocking factors that are there. And there's some awesome FDNs I know that sort of niche and specialize in that side of things. So it's having enough overall knowledge that I guess that's where it comes down to, that we are generalists, right? So specializing can kind of hurt you in a way as far as being into this work. It's good to be really knowledgeable about a whole lot of things, but we're a generalist. We're looking at all the different angles and possibilities because I think Reed or Bill Wolcott, I'm trying to give credit where credit's due, with the analogy, maybe it's Paul Chek, anybody. The idea is that if you're going to fight a dragon, well, do you want to fight it from only one direction, or do you want to hit it from 10 angles all around the beast, right? Which would you rather do? So be super specialized and go after it right in the front and you're toast, or would you want to go all the way around different areas, look for weak spots, all those things? That's why we're so thorough. Our intake forms, we ask so many questions that maybe seem even almost irrelevant to the client. Why are we asking all these things? Well, lots of things you're looking for clues. You're reading between the lines some of these answers. Why do we run all these labs? And they seem so varied and so general. Well, that's the way this works. If you throw a broad enough net, you might see, hey, this lab and this lab, not too bad. The numbers actually look pretty good, and they're pretty good, but here's 4 or 5 things on these other labs here that, this is really where we need to hone in. Let's work on addressing the malfunction we're seeing there. Let's see what changes we start to see with that person. So it's that general thinking that I think it's the hallmark of a lot of what we do, and it's also very safe, right? So we're generalists. It keeps you legal, keeps you in your lane doing the things that you need to do. So be well versed in some of these things. That way you know where to go, or if you're stuck, throw it out there on the AFDNP Facebook page, and you're going to get some different answers in some of those different rabbit trails you might need to go down with your client. They'll come out in just the thread there on Facebook. Pretty cool how that can happen. Lives can be changed just by a little Facebook post. So like with this call, we offer, say, hey, call in, make a comment, and things like that. If you have anything even that's off the wall that you think could be helpful for that person, put up that Facebook post there. that could be one of the big blocking factors for that person. So there's no bad ideas. We need to be really open to things. All right. Good stuff. So, 15 minutes left in the call. Wow, it's been a fast hour, I would say. All right, we got another hand raise here. So, 978 area code. What's your name? 978.
Hey, Brandon. It's Donna Sack. How are you?
Well, hey, Donna. Doing well.
Hi. So,
how can I help
you? I have. Thank you for that information about constipation. Very helpful. This client has that issue, but she gets her teeth cleaned twice a year, and she had a hip replacement last year, and her doctor has told her she must take amoxicillin twice a year when she gets her teeth cleaned. And I wondered what your take on that is, especially if she's on this 90-day program, if she should happen to have to go in to get her teeth cleaned and she's on probiotics and whatnot. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so the hip replacement side of things, something in the back of my mind says, yeah, there's some connection there. I wish Ryan was there or somebody to help me out with the connection there with that, but I assume like there's a connection there. But I will say that I know, like, if you go in for a root canal, most of the time they're going to say, hey, take an antibiotic afterwards, right? Or doctor I used to go to, retired biological dentist, I was taking biocidin, so he said that should work just fine. You're very healthy, so that was very good. And I had actually one root canal, oddly enough, in the front tooth there. He couldn't figure it out, neither could I. The rest of my teeth are picture perfect, but it's gone well. So I know an antibiotic there, kind of part of the standard there when you're doing that type of treatment. I have had a few clients that had such really bad dental issues that they could only clean part of their mouth at a time. I actually had to break it into 4 quadrants. And they said, you need to take an antibiotic while we're doing this treatment because they're opening up so many different things and areas. So not only are you opening up areas, which is good, getting air to some of those areas will kill those bacteria. They won't survive. But also you're stirring the waters. You're stirring some things up. And, a person can die from a tooth abscess. That's a really serious deal. So dental health is a big thing. So if there's a situation where you have, that may be something, I wish I could speak authoritatively on this, but I'm going to say if the doctor said to do that with the hip replacement there and the teeth, there must be some safety thing that's there. That may be what they need to do.
It's about rejecting. The client said it had to do with the possibility of an infection starting and rejecting the hip replacement, which is made out of titanium.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that'd be a tough one there. I'd say something maybe you could ask the doctor and say, I've got this product called biocidin or some antibiocidins that give them because there's lots of research there on how it attenuates the effectiveness of antibiotics. Would they possibly feel comfortable saying, hey, if she does a good strong dose of biocidin for a month afterwards and leading up to, do you think that would be adequate? It's a little different because you've got a foreign body, in place, object placed into the body. So there are some complications that are there. Worst case scenario, I would say she does the antibiotics like doctor recommended. And then in between time, you try to coach back up good health as much as you can in the gut.
And as far as the protocol, if actually just work around that time period where she gets the teeth cleaning and don't have her on any of the probiotics at that time?
There's debate on that if it's good to take a probiotic at the same time as an antibiotic, if you're just kind of wasting it in a way, or it can be beneficial. Most of the time I'd say antibiotics are pretty short-term, a week or two. Being off a probiotic for a week or two probably won't be a big issue. So probably that'd be the way I would go, just be off of that during that antibiotic time. I do know that biocidin does tend to improve the effectiveness of an antibiotic. So if we're going to take it, we might as well make it as effective as possible. You could look into that, reach out to them about potentially doing biocidin along with the antibiotic.
Okay. All right.
Bob
Well,
Botanical's pretty good about information. So, yeah. Okay, good question. Thanks, Donna. Cool stuff. Bob Botanical Research, good folks there, and they can give you lots of information. That's the one reason I like them. They've got a lot of research and studies behind what they do, and they're very good about keeping practitioners informed and teaching us and being willing to share things with us. So, awesome partner we have there. All right. Okay, well, about 10 minutes left in the call here today. And no more hands raised at the moment. That's cool. We probably can get another question or two in. I'll try for you guys here. So, what was that question I wanted? Oh, okay. This just kind of goes along with the theme here maybe today. What do you recommend for intelligent allopathy for IBS, so irritable bowel syndrome? Sort of going back really kind of to the constipation question is what I would think about there. So some of the same things we said there, I don't know much there is for intelligent allopathy for IBS. I don't know that you want to do enzymes necessarily, because sometimes those can irritate tissue that's already damaged there. I would say probably probiotics would be fine to do. Something on the soothing side, maybe making like a gruel of slippery elm or marshmallow root, something like that. That's very soothing. Aloe, some of those things that are soothing to that mucosal barrier, plus they're a little bit of a binder and a support through that. Clay might be another one also, mixing up some clay in the mix to that as well. Clay can bind a little bit, can if you've got too loose of stools, it can sort of slow down some motility a little bit and ease things a little bit. I think with IBS, it's something that's really very case by case. You're going to have to play with things a little bit and see if you can figure out what might be working. So a lot of sequencing and titration and listening to the body is going to be important there. The big deal with IBS is you need to find the trigger, right? So that's the non-allopathic approach to this, is find the triggers. So foods, organisms, stress, toxins, environmental things, all these, mental, emotional stress, all these things can be mixed up in that axis there of the IBS. That's a very general irritable bowel syndrome, right? So it's not even a definite disease there. So it's a syndrome, lots of different factors and symptoms coming together to make a syndrome. I think it's something that we do excellent with. I don't know if there is too much. I'm thinking of anything else that might be good. There may be some herbs out there that are supportive to the mucosal lining there. If you guys have a thought on that out there in the audience, jump on, help me out here with this one. So that'd be some things I would try. Otherwise, you've got to go through the FDN process and test, don't guess, see what those triggers are. And I don't know, it's very, very few. I know that's a common symptom a lot of FDN practitioners have gone through that, or even ulcerative colitis, all issues within that realm of things. And so many times it's just cleaning up the diet, eating a real food diet, and removing inflammatory foods and some of those known triggers. Is just kind of as simple as that. So it's a bowel that's irritable, so it's going to take whatever is coming through and probably expel it as quickly, potentially, as it can. So is it the thing that is going into the system that it doesn't like? Is it also the system that's irritated to begin with? And so anything you put into it, like a kid that's angry, a little toddler throwing a tantrum, doesn't matter what you offer them. They don't want it. They're ticked off. They don't care. So out it goes. They don't want that. So it could be the irritation there. It could have microorganisms that are involved in that very commonly be there. So that's the things I would think about. And then also just making sure mental emotional strain side of things too. So got to address some of those mental emotional factors. There's the gut-brain connection. So one of my most favorite connections in the body. Just love the whole concept, to know about that, to be able to say, hey, work on your gut. It's going to have this effect positively on the brain, maybe anxiety and depression, the way your brain works, or clarity of thought, aspects of mood, sleep, focus, energy, cognition, all these cool things. And so that's the secondary things I love to see when you work and help with gut restoration. What other things outside of that gut is going to improve? Muscle tone, skin health, hair, all sorts of things like joint pain, right? So this list I'm going through in my head is just years of practice, right? So this is me in real time clinically correlating. That's what we want to do, right, during our sessions. Clinical correlation is always going to be king. Yeah, we're going to educate. We're going to give them the nuts and bolts and some of the cool stuff with the anatomy and physiology and how things work and how they shouldn't work and what happens when they start to fail. But then bringing it home, that's the clinical correlation side. That's what we want to focus on doing really, really well, is that connection back to them, what they're dealing with in the here and the now, and their symptoms. That's what's going to be really fun. So make your clinical correlation list up. That's one thing that I've done. So H. pylori, hey, here's 20 symptoms you could have from H. pylori, or low estrogen. What could you feel if you had low estrogen? Look at that list. Do some clinical correlation. Really fun part of what we do. Okay. That's about all the thoughts I have on that one. So intelligent allopathy, IBS. Okay. Then maybe here's a quick one we can end with here. I'm trying to keep things in order. Keeping the show notes here too, so whenever you guys go to search and look for a topic, we try to keep pretty detailed show notes, so you know what we talked about during that call. We usually put the exact question in there, or if it's just a topic or a caller, we'll hit some of the points, and then our buddy Josh is doing a great job at trying to get some more detailed information into the titles, and so you guys can search these easier. So a question here is, outside of filtered water, what is your go-to for neutralizing chlorine for Epsom salt bath? Okay, so two definite ways that I know to do it would be, like I said, filtered water. So there are some pretty decent filters that neutralize chlorine pretty well. We use always an inline shower head filter. That's very good. For showers, you could run water for the bath through the shower head. There are also some filters that hang there that fit on the spigot or the spout coming out there, whatever you call it. I think it shoots water into the bathtub faucet. So ones that hook onto that, or ones just kind of hang there. I've seen this circular type of filter that just hangs there, and the water goes down through it, and it filters it that way and does a good job with the chlorine. And there are also some effervescent vitamin C tablets that I think do a really good job also. We use both of those for neutralizing chlorine, and I think that makes a big difference. It's always on my list of in the hydration conversation. We always talk about filtering water, and getting an inline shower filter is going to be everybody. Every client's going to get that recommendation, neutralize some of what's coming onto their bodies. If they don't have a whole house filter, they'll put a $25 inline shower head filter in there, and they last probably 6 months or more, and they make a big difference. I think health-wise, people can feel it, but even immediate things like hair and skin will feel better without the chemical burden there. So, and of course, you can do like a whole house filter also, filtering system. There are several different ways to do that, good companies out there. I'd say probably a really good investment for anybody to make. Cost of convenience is one thing, right? So it's nice if being healthy is very convenient. So if every bit of water that comes out of your house is already pre-filtered, that's great. You just turn on the faucet, get what you need. You don't think about it so much. And then also your cost per gallon of water to filter, very inexpensive when you put a whole house system, and you're talking about pennies per gallon to filter something like that. So usually a really good investment. I mean, hydration, it's foundational. It's part of the diet, part of what's going into your system. So I don't think you can invest too much in a good filtration system. All right. We don't have a filtration system sponsor here today, so I don't have a name to thank for that, but look around there and see what you guys can find out there in the market. Put it up on AFDNP and ask around. Okay. All right. Well, It's telling me about 30 seconds left in the show today. So, guys, thanks for joining me. Donna, Andrea, and Rainey, thanks for the questions they're here today. And graduates, Allison, Ebony, Rick, Kristen, Denise, and Rachel, 6 great folks coming on there, joining the ranks today. And you guys have a good long weekend, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.